In the introduction video of the Government is the Problem series, I discussed a couple issues that basically tie together all the other problems that we're going to discuss in this series. Every political argument, whether they be taxes, housing, immigration, wages, they all come from the same source, namely a consumption based economy. But what fuels that consumption based economy? Well, today I thought we would take time to discuss the endless inflation and endless consumption that create our consumption based economy. So, how do we get a consumption based economy? Well, first, you need a mechanism for endless inflation, namely a central bank. Once established, inflation becomes permanent, making savings a pointless endeavor because your money is always losing value. So, what about the other part of the equation? Endless consumption. In our system, the endless inflation fuels endless consumption. But here's the thing, if we have too much consumption, we get hyperinflation. So, what do? Well, we need a regulator for that. In our system, we use the income tax. Basically, it goes like this: it limits consumption for individuals. However, if you're a business, your consumption is rewarded, namely through business write offs. So, when you combine endless inflation and endless consumption, you now need endless growth. Ideally, in a healthy economy, growth is tied to production, but in our system, growth is tied to consumption regardless of its source. Unfortunately, this produces misaligned incentives. So, what are the negative incentives? Well, here's a few just to get us started. First, production takes a hit since it's no longer incentivized by the system. Second, quality necessarily suffers because quality reduces consumption. Third, eventually cheap, imported, and low quality goods become the norm. And finally, businesses now have a vested interest in acquiring new customer bases, i.e., immigration, legal or otherwise. So, what do we do with this? Well, we need to remember that when we're having political arguments, we're often missing the big picture. When the government is causing problems, most of those problems are merely symptoms. The original government problem is endless inflation and endless consumption and is the source of all of the other problems that we argue about. This is AnvilHammerForge. Let's get to work.